Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and in this video what I'm going to do is we're going to talk about hamburger menus. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a little quick navigation from scratch and just kind of talk about making it sort of mobily responsive with a hamburger menu. Now this isn't the only way to do it necessarily, and I'm not going to make it perfect, but this should outline the principles of generally how a hamburger menu works. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new folder. So we're going to go through the whole setup because that way you can see the whole setup of setting up the project and everything. So we're going to create a new folder. We're going to call this hamburger because the whole purpose of this is just to create a hamburger menu. Create my normal setup of files, which include a index.html. We're going to add a app.js. I'm going to include a style.css. Neat. Okay, hamburger, good. So I'm going to create my boilerplate, HTML5, so that way this pops up. Okay, we want to make sure we have this UTF-8 because we're going to borrow an emoji for the sandwich. Okay, I'm not going to worry about all that. I do want to link in my style sheet, so link CSS. And I'm going to link in style.css, that's all perfect. Then I want to link in my script tag, so script, and then choose script source. And then I want to link in app.js, and I want to add a defer keyword at the end. And on that note, I want to bring in Jquery. So I'm going to head over to, there's where, actually just to show you this is graphmica.com. Here you can find emojis, so you can copy right into your code. So we're literally just going to copy this hamburger emoji later and use that. Okay, so what do I want? I want to grab Jquery. So I'm going to go to code.jquery.com. That's where I can find the script tag. I'm going to take the uncompressed one. And let's head back over to this. I want to put that script tag before, I'll put this all before my stuff. Okay, I'm going to add the defer keyword at the end of Jquery. Okay, and that should get rid of all those potential issues. And now let's just create a dummy menu. Okay, I always like to do this. Just set up I'm going to set up a header tag. And theoretically, I'm going to set up a main tag, even though I'm not going to create a body. And then I'll create a footer tag. So that way the main three sections of the website are kind of already defined, and I can get to those when I get to those. Okay, so let me think about how I want to set this up. We're going to have a header tag, and let's create it where there is sort of a logo on the right or on the left, and then your navigation on the right. So what I want to do is create a div. And we're going to call div.nav container. So we'll do that. I'm using Emmet. Emmet's something that's built into VS Code, so I can just kind of do those abbreviations and it builds it out for me. And in this container, actually, do I even need to do that? No. We'll come back to that. I'm a popular guy these days. Okay, so we're going to do div. I don't need another container. The header is the container, so I really just need a div.logo. And then I need my navigation, which I'm going to put in nav. Use a nav tag. Okay, cool. And then this will just say my website. Okay, and then my navigation. What I am going to do, how do I want to do this? I'm going to use a div. Inside that div, there's going to be an a tag, a href equals. I'm just going to put a pound sign so that way it doesn't go anywhere. And we're just going to say my link. And on the last one, that's the one that's going to have the hamburger, which doesn't really need to be a link. So we can take out the A tag, and we just need to add in the hamburger. So let's go back and grab that hamburger emoji here. So let's grab it right here from the menu bar, Control C. I'm just going to plop that right in there. There we go, and then I'm going to give this a class of hamburger. Okay. So let's take a look at how this looks so far. Open in this live server. So you see right now, it's just basically a bunch of stuff stacked on top of each other, because that's how a normal block works. Okay, and now let's first style it to get it like a normal looking navigation. So let's head over to our style.css. So what I want to do is first style this header container. So let's do that, header. Now what I want that to do is I want that to be a flexbox. So I want that to be display flex. I want the width of that container to be 80%. I always just like 80% as a width. Okay, and let's see here, with 80%, we'll say minimum width 300 pixels for smaller screens, so it never gets too small. Actually, let's make that 320. And let's see here. What did I want to do? Let's make this the background color. Let's make it just black. And then justify content. I want it to be space between, so that way it pushes the logo all the way to the left, and then the nav all the way to the right. So space between, where I just saw it right there, space between. Okay, let's save that. Let's take a look at the results. Okay, so you can see here the logo is pushed all the way here to the right, and the nav's pushed all the way here to the right. Now, before I'm done with the header, I want to make sure this block is centered. So let's go address that. So to center that block, I'm going to use margin and just set margin to 20 pixels, so that way there's some nice little cushion at the top, and then auto, so that way it centers horizontally. Save. So that's a little bit better, and again you got that little 20 pixel cushion here at the top, which is a little bit more nice looking. And see, that's a little claustrophobic there, touching the edges, so I'm going to give it some padding. Just a little bit. So we'll say padding 5 pixels. Let's see how that looks. It's just a little cushion, but we'll fix that even more in a second. Next, I want to go take care of the logo on the side. So how do I have that set up? Class logo, so let's use that. Dot logo. Let's first make that a little bit bigger, so font size, we'll say larger, that's fine with me. Color, let's make the font white. And what I will do is I'm going to do an align content center, so that way it's center, so vertically align, so that way it aligns center wise. Let me just think about that, but we'll come back to that. It'll center better in a second. Okay, logo, and then I do want to we're going to add some margin on this, so I'm going to give this another, just so that way it has some more cushion. 20 pixels. And font family, let's just choose something, whatever, let's just choose that. Okay, cool. Let's see how that looks. My website. Okay, we can make that a little bit bigger. Oh, back over here. First now, so now that we have that kind of pushed off to the side, we'll come play with that some more in a second. What I do want to do is fix these list of links here, make them look like a normal set of nav. See, we have that little menu thing there too. We'll take care of that in a second. So let's head over to the nav item. If I remember correctly, that's where all these divs are. Yep. So we want all of those to be lined up horizontally for now. So I'm going to change the display of that nav box that's inside the header box. I'm going to change that to flex. So that way they all line up in a row. And that should already put them in a row. Okay, so that's looking a lot better, but not quite there yet. So let's justify content, make it space around, give them all a little space, the space that's available. We'll make the width 40% of the other box. We can adjust that afterwards. I want to create some margin. Oh no, just we'll do an align content and center that. See how we're looking. Okay, we're getting there. Let me just do this. Line. Because it's the div that's lined up, so we'll come back to that. But that's getting better. Okay, so let's see here. Let's go back over here. Let me give it some margin, kind of like the logo. Margin 20 pixels. And we want to make sure that those links are white. So I'm going to do this. Nav. So there's a nav, then there's a div, then there's an a tag. So we'll do that. So we're choosing specifically those. And I want the color to be white on those. Okay, and I want to get rid of the text decoration. I don't want that underline. I don't like those underlines. So we're going to say text decoration none. And then that should make it look a little bit better. There we go. That's starting to look more where I want it. Let's see right now. Yeah, I got the little pointer, but I want to make it look a little bit more obvious that you're about to click on it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is do this. Nav div a hover. So that way when you hover over it, we'll just do something really simple. We'll just say the font gets a little bit bigger. Font size, we'll just make it larger. Okay, so that way when I hover over it, it gets a little bit bigger, makes it look a little bit more interactive. Okay, and then the hamburger's still over there. If we still have to change the color of the hamburger, we'll come back to that. Okay, so let's take care of the hamburger. Let's go back over here and take a look how we did that. The hamburger is its own class. So we'll do .hamburger. And I'm just going to make that color white. Make that larger, or font size. Extra large. See how that looks? Yeah, that looks nice. I like that. That's fine. Okay, but now I'm going to change the display to none. Okay, so it'll only display on a smaller screen. So let's actually create that media query. At media, minimum or max width 500 pixels. Okay, and then this situation .hamburger then becomes visible. So display block. Okay. So let's see if that works the way we want to. So let's see here. Go like this. So see, there's the hamburger. Then I get too big, hamburger disappears. I want the menu to disappear at that point too. Okay. And let me just think about how we want to do that. Go back to our style sheet. Because I don't want this whole block to disappear. I just want these for the disappear. Okay, let me think what's the best way to do that. I'm going to give these a class of link. That's how I'm going to do this. So that way I can specifically call out these divs in an easier way. Good. Okay. And what's going to happen is that once we get to a small screen, dot link, this was going to change to a display none. Okay. So that way that menu disappears. Save. So here we go. So see, there's the menu. Then we get small enough, then that disappears. Okay. That's, maybe I give that too much margin. Let me just see here. There's a hamburger. But this, yeah, that's because of the margin. So we need to also shrink the margin on the nav. Okay, so we're going to say nav. Just to adjust it. In this case, margin 2 pixels. Yeah, that's what I want to do. Still not enough. I think here. Just because it's still taking up 40% and that's centering it. So let's see here. Where did I do that nav? I said width is 40%. Okay. Then I'll just change this to width none. I think that'll undo what I did before. No, it's still creating container, even though there's nothing else in it at the moment. So I think here, let's maybe make this 20% then. That is better. Okay, and then I do want to undo the margin change. Let's get rid of that. I think we're going to be where we want to be. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Cool. Okay, so here's what we want to do. We also want to make sure that our menu will look like the way we want it. So I'm going to take away this display none for a moment. I'm going to change this to display block when we get to a smaller screen. I'll take off this display none just so I want to see what the menu is going to look like when we trigger it back on. Control \. Okay, so basically what's going to happen on the smaller screen is no longer going to now stack them because it's back to block, not flex. So we're going to have something like this. So I just want to style this to make sure that it looks right. In that case, I think actually I'm going to move the sandwich beforehand. So we'll do that first. So it's all just tweaking. Control X, move that first, so that way it shows up before the menu items. Okay. That looks a little bit better. Just going to change the styling a little bit for when it's small. So let's go back and copy these. we're gonna make this look a little bit different on a smaller screen. So let's see, we're just gonna get the menu the way we want it, and then we'll disappear it again. Text decorate, let's see here, nav. Let me think about this. Oh no, down here. So what I do want is actually I want the background color to be black again, or to be white, and the font color to be black. And I want there to be a border. Border 3 pixels, solid gray. And I want the font to be a little bit smaller. Font size small. Okay, let's see how that's looking. Okay, so that's kind of looking like a thing. That's a bit better. Not perfect, but again, this is not supposed to be perfect. It's just showing you the basic premise. Okay. Now, the next piece I want to do is, I want to change the hover. So that way when you hover over it, instead of it making the font bigger, because we're on a smaller screen, we need that size, we're going to just change the color. So we're going to say background color becomes white. No, it's already white. Black. And the color becomes white. And I kind of want that to be a little bit smoother, so I'm going to do a transition. So transition. And I'm going to say whenever the background color changes, I want it to transition over 0.5 seconds. And whenever the color changes, I want that to transition over 0.5 seconds. That's a little long, but just so you can see what happens. Background color, good. So let's take a look at that effect. Oh, that's right. There is no hover. Oh, it's still making the font bigger. Let's take a look at why is that. Oh, because the font size is there, so I need to reiterate the font size here. Font size small. Okay, let's see here. Okay, that's good enough for me. So let's make that thing disappear. So let's just reiterate what's happening here. So on a smaller screen right now, the menu's hidden, but we see the sandwich. The screen gets bigger, the sandwich reappears. The sandwich disappears, but we have our menu links here. Again, not perfect. I mean, we should create different like size points and whatnot, but this gets us where we need to be at the moment. So let's see here. So like basically we have now a navigation that's somewhat responsive, not perfectly, but you know, you guys are starting to see the principle. Hamburger appears when it's a small screen, menu appears when it's a larger screen. But right now, when I click on this hamburger menu, it doesn't really do much of anything. So that's the next thing we have to do. But that's got to be in JavaScript, because CSS and HTML only kind of define what's happening on the onset of the website. So it's only what people see right away. And the only thing you can really change is really with media queries. But what if we want to create something like a click event or whatnot? That's got to be in the JavaScript. So I'm going to be using Jquery. Okay, but this can be done with plain vanilla JavaScript as well. And essentially what I want to happen is I want to grab, so first I'm going to just create variables with the pieces I plan on referring to. So I'm going to be referring to the hamburger menu, so I'm going to create a variable for hamburger. So const hamburger equals dot hamburger. Then I want my links. The dot link. Okay, so we have the hamburger and the links in a variable. This will just grab that one div with the hamburger. This is going to grab all the link divs. So I have to keep that in mind. Okay, so that we have to iterate over that. Now let's see here. Now index.html. So here's what we need to do. And I'm also just going to create a global variable. So that's going to be a let. And I'm just going to call this, you know, show. Actually, let me think about how I want to do this. Let's show. Equal. Well, if you click on the hamburger initially, it's going to be false. You're not going to be seeing the thing, so we can start it at false. Okay. And let's just create our click function, and then we'll add it on there in a second. So const show menu, okay, equals a function, and again, all click events take, or all events take an event object into the function. Okay, so you would click on the menu, and then this function is going to run. Now, what is this function going to do? Handler for click event. These are just going to be sort of my global variables I'll be using a lot. Okie dokie, let's see here. Const show menu. What we want to do is do an if statement. So if show, so if show is true, it'll do one thing. If it's false, it's going to do another. So essentially, if it's false, it's currently not showing, so it'll then show, and then vice versa here. So it's the exact same logic. And sorry for all the background noise right now. I'm sure you can hear my bird. They're fixing some potholes outside right now, and an ambulance just went by, because the world wants to get in the way of me explaining you a hamburger menu. Okay, so what I want to do is go back and take each of those link divs, and let me just make sure that the class is link. Yep, link. And I just want to basically change your display to block. Okay, so that we get that effect. So what I'm going to do is there's a function in Jquery .link.each, which is kind of like for each, where it loops over, but specifically to loop over an array of Jquery items. So what I need to do is go back and look at the docs, because it's a weird one. It doesn't work like a normal like for each function on an array. So Jquery .each. Okay, .each. Let me just look for the function of one. This is a different version of it. I'm going to look for the object.each. Here we go. Here we go. Selector.each. That's what I want. Each method is designed to make .each function index. Okay. That just brings the index. So basically it would be function this dot odd class foo. Okay, got it. Cool. Dot each. So basically what we have to do is we have to pass in sort of an old school function. The reason is we need the use of this keyword. Okay, and then basically what's going to be passed in the function is the index each time around if we need it. Okay. And then we define the function. And this is the function it's going to do each time. So basically what I want to do is first take this and make it a Jquery object. So basically this. And then what I want to do is .css. And if I remember right, we name the property, so that'd be display. and I want to set it to block. Okay, and then that would do it. It would change each one to block, and then afterwards we would want to make show equal true. Okay, so that would toggle, that would make true, and then so next time it would go the other path. So let's basically, this is going to be the same logic again this time around. Okay, dot each, this display to none, so that way it hides the menu. And this time you'd want to set it to false. So that way it keeps, every time you click on it, it does the opposite thing. So when show is true, when show is false. When show is true, when show is false. So now we just need to add this. So I'm gonna grab the hamburger div. Okay, and we're gonna do is say whenever you click on it, what's gonna happen is we're gonna run this show menu function. And that should do it. Let's go back to our website. And there you go. You got a hamburger menu. Again, not the suavest one. Wasn't the point. But it works. And now, where you'd run into an issue here is that you have, once you set it display none, it's no longer part of the class when I do this. So theoretically, the screen is stretched out. But again, this generally shouldn't be an issue because your mobile screen doesn't necessarily get bigger. You're not doing this on an actual device. So it's just generally an issue in this responsive thing. Yeah, I can just refresh the page and we're back to normal. Again, it works as expected. So again, you maybe create a couple different breakpoints, but again, once the hamburger shows up, I can now click on it and take off the menu. And you know, you can use things like absolute positioning and whatnot to make this even cleaner looking, but at least now you kind of get the idea of functionally sort of what are the steps. Again, it's literally just the menu, the sandwich is literally just text. It's just an emoji that when you click on it, makes this other thing disappear or reappear. That's literally all that's going on. Okay, so hopefully this is clarifying. And with that, I will see you guys later. Have a good one.